Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite finished manhwa slash Chinese manhwa. There is only one Chinese manhwa on this list, keeping that in mind. But before we do get into it, please like and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated, and I'd love a comment down below on something you'd like to see me covering on this series or on this channel in general, because I love to give you guys exactly what you want. Let's not waste any more time, guys, and let's jump right into the list. At number 10 is Promised Orchid. Promised Orchid follows a main character that has been born with a strange ability to see all manner of ghosts, demons, shades, and everything in between. A world that humans normally don't get to see. We hear stories, ghost tales, and things of the sort that exist in this world. However, he can see the ghosts behind it all. And this story is kind of driven forward by a main character that is still kind of terrified of these things, despite him being able to see them. The art is phenomenal, and particularly in the design of the monsters. Some of the ones you're seeing on screen right now I find are so well designed. And honestly, some of them are pretty chilling in their design. So if you have a little bit of an issue with gory type looking creatures, maybe this one isn't for you, though I don't think that it's a huge thing to prevent you from enjoying this series, in all honesty. Beyond that, one of the driving force behind the series is his desire to find a woman that he sees in his dreams. He doesn't know if she's a ghost, if she's a shade, if she's just a living girl, but he's looking for her, and this is a pretty big part of the early parts of the story, and you're going to enjoy the plot getting to there. That being said, if nothing else, check this one out for the visuals and the fact that honestly, it's a finished series that is pretty darn good. So check it out. At number 9 is Magician. You probably don't know this series, and if you do and you love it, I'd love to see a comment down below about it, because I feel like this one is skipped for a very obvious reason. This one finished a few years ago, and it is not as beloved due to the art not being the best thing out there for a lot of people. I think its uniqueness and design make it beautiful, in all honesty. However, I absolutely understand why it's not the most popular art style out there. This story follows Elder Mask as he attempts to find someone that he's looking for. These two younger kids are following him around. Elder Mask is the most powerful magician in the world, and this really strong magician girl and swordman guy are the ones following him on this great adventure. It is a fantastic story of coming of age for these two younger characters growing up as well, as Elder Mask is a complex character, and a lot of big important scenes happen later on in the story that puts you to question what you would do in circumstances like that. Would you save everyone? Would you let them perish? And it really pushes a great storyline forward. So if you can look past the art, this one is my first manhwa I ever read when I started reading manhwa. I didn't know what it was. I just found this thing that someone recommended to me, and I really enjoyed it, and I followed it up until it finished a few years ago. Truly a beautiful series with good characters and good strong dialogue, but I understand if the art is not for you. Let's jump in to the next one. At number 8 is Pounding. Pounding is a bully beatdown story, but one with a bit of a twist. A main character, a pushover that has been bullied to the end. He's not had the greatest life, and as he's thinking about ending it all, a second personality kind of pushes in the other direction. This main character develops this second personality that is the personality that puts the pounding down on those that would bully others. Brutal fights, strong, let's just say this is a strong adult series because there is adult content in a few different ways. But keep in mind, this one can be gory, brutal, and there may be some things alluding to some sexual type activities. But I will say that this story is really strong, and the idea of having kind of a split personality, one that is meek and struggling to survive, and the other that is always giving you the option to put the beat down on those that dare cross you. That dichotomy is a lot of fun to watch, and some of the beatdowns are pretty darn brutal, not to mention the art is pretty good in my opinion as well. At number 7 is WarBle. WarBle follows basically two worlds that exist beside each other. The underworld and the otherworld. Think of it as Earth and Hell in a way. It's a game-like world that exists on top of ours, and you can only access it through an app on your phone. The art in this one is really cool. For some reason, I love the blacks and the dark blues of this series. It looks visually really strong. Good, strong monster design as well. And it has this vibe of like people trying to manipulate a system in order to gain upper strength over other people, while the main character is doing everything he can to kind of break the power system as it stands. There is more to the story here, and it's worth checking out, absolutely, though I will say the ending is a little disappointing, but I often find when it comes to Asian media in general, I'm often disappointed by the endings. That being said, the pathway to enjoying this series is just a question of watching and enjoying. The main character is a little OP for the early chapters. He puts the beat down like brutally on everyone early in the story, but he does meet his challenge a little bit later on. So give this one a shot. It is absolutely worth checking out. At number 6 is Supernova. Supernova follows a main character that encounters a cat who happens to be a general from 1500 years ago. I know, it sounds weird, right? This is another bully beatdown story. It does become far more than that a little bit later on. However, it starts off as being a bully beatdown story. This cat gives him a little bit of an advantage of giving him the strength and allows him to develop himself into this crazy badass character that he becomes. The visuals in this story are really, really good, and it's worth checking out solely for that. But I will say that the dynamics between the cat or the general and the main character, that mentoree type action really works for me in this story, and I enjoy every second of it. If you're into that kind of dynamic and you love things that start off in that school brawl kind of mindset, you should definitely check out Supernova. It is worth the time. At number 5 is Noblesse. Noblesse follows the main character, who is let's call him a Lord of Lords above the Lord of Vampires. So he is basically this entity, this godlike creature almost, that reigns above the society of vampires and makes sure that people are protected, and that the nobility of the vampire race remains intact. Raziel, the main character, is an OP badass, but this series doesn't always follow him fighting. So I'm going to put some asterisks on this one. This series is mostly kind of a slice of life series, mixed in with outcasts that are trying to find their place in society, mixed in with vampires and werewolves. So there's kind of a lot of stuff going on in this series. It is a fairly long one, so it's worth checking out if you like that kind of dynamic. The art starts off a little bit weaker than it becomes. It becomes a really nice series, and if you've watched the adaptation of that exists on Crunchyroll already, the anime adaptation, you might be happy to find out there's a lot more story out there to read than what we saw on the anime. I don't know if we're going to be getting more of Noblesse in the coming years in the anime form, but I do hope so, because there are some really good arcs in the story that are left to cover, and I'd only think they covered maybe 1/7 or 1/8 of this total story with what they've already adapted. That being said, it's fun to check out. Raziel is, like I said, OP, but when he uses power, he gets tired, and he has to rest for a while, which makes a lot of the fights take place with other characters among his surroundings, which in a lot of cases I'm down on. I'm not a big fan of that generally, because I like to follow a main character and his development. The main character starts the story OP, so it's not him getting stronger. What he's getting is development in regards to character. Those around him are getting stronger, but for him himself, he's getting a chance to actually live a normal life instead of just being this OP Lord-like character. For that reason, it kind of has a unique vibe. The main character, Raziel, is kind of a stoic badass. He's very dry. He doesn't joke around a lot. He doesn't have a lot of personality. But that's kind of what makes all the other characters around him bounce off of him, which makes it a pretty interesting story. So check it out. At number 4 is Sunken Rock. This one is created by Boishi. It looks like a manga, I know, but it's a Korean manhwa created by the creator of Dr. Stone, actually. This one was made, before Dr. Stone ever came out, and I have to put an asterisk once again next to this series. It is very adult. There is explicit material in this one, and it's not for everyone. For that reason, keep that in mind. That being said, it follows Ken that is, I think he's coming from Japan and lands in South Korea, following a girl that he has a crush on. His life in South Korea is quickly upended due to a situation that happens with these gangsters / mobsters. He becomes the leader of a gang without wanting to necessarily, but as he becomes this, he becomes he's already a badass, but he becomes this total badass. He's a comedic character at the same time. It kind of has the same tone as Dr. Stone as well. The main character can be kind of goofy as well as being very, like, the best at what he does kind of thing. And this one kind of has that same vibe, but I will say the quality of the beatdowns in this story are top tier. Really, really good stuff. Really good, like, scaling the, like, against different mob groups or gangster groups along the storyline. And it is so much fun, guys. I wish I could forget this series and watch it again, because I remember just loving the experience of reading it for the first time, because it was so much fun and just so wacky and crazy at the same time. And unlike in the case of Dr. Stone, which for me became rather repetitive, I didn't find that at all in Sunken Rock. It really came through it. There's actually another series, a Hitman series, I forget the name, it might be just Hitman, that's actually from the same creator, and it happens in the same world as this series. If ever you want to check out another one, that's definitely worth checking out. It's also finished, worth checking out. At number 3, we have Feng Shen Ji. All right, Feng Shen Ji is the Chinese manhwa on this list, and I can't ever create a list of finished manhwa or manhwa without including this manhwa. I think visually it is one of the most beautiful manhwa ever made. Its art style is maybe not for everyone, but I have to say the detail and definition and color usage in this series are just, it's nuts. If you haven't checked this one out, it should be on your list for things to check out. It is a fighting heavy series. I don't think it's narratively that deep, in all honesty. However, it has a lot of fighting. It has some twists and turns nonetheless in the story. It follows a kind of humans versus gods kind of concept, and with the humans basically saying, we're done with this, we're done with being just the slaves to the gods. That's what the father of the main character says at the start of the story. And obviously he gets killed off right at the beginning so that we can have a really good story with his son. The son is the main character, despite I think his father was cooler, but it is what it is. His son becomes the main character. He ages up a little bit, and he becomes this badass fighter. What's really cool about this one is he fights against all these different types of gods and different types of creatures that all have different power sets. You're not fighting everyone with the same skills or the same clan. Everyone has kind of a different approach to power, and he has to find a way through it. Even though I find his power sets can be a little limiting sometimes into what they can do, but he does develop a good variety of them as we reach the end of the story. And once again, this is a finished series, so you get to watch it all the way to the end. And this one is not excessively long and is worth doing it. I used to follow this one week to week years ago. I think it was week to week, every 2 weeks. And I was always so excited for the next chapter because the fights were just so on point for this one. I don't know why it's never had an adaptation, because I think visually it's just so beautiful. But it is what it is. Check this one out, guys. It's worth your time. At number 2 is Gosu. Gosu follows a main character that is sworn to avenge the death of his master, only to find out the people responsible for the death of his master are already dead, which is awkward. So it leaves the main character like, what do I do now? It's a cool dynamic. The main character starts off a little lost. He doesn't know what he's going to do with all this training because he is so strong at the start of the story. But it creates a situation where he just kind of lives his life the way he wants to live it after that. He's extraordinarily powerful. You have some crazy fights in this series, but you also have a lot of comedy. I do find 2 things in this series can be a little off-putting. There can be a little bit too much comedy early on in the series that could be a little bit of a turn-off for some people. And the other thing is I find sometimes the character design in this series makes characters look similar and not distinguish them enough. So if you notice that problem or you didn't feel it all, tell me. I'd be curious to know if like you found that as well in that series. That being said, the fights are really good. The story has a good go of like becoming a bit more serious as we go on. But I will say the ending is disappointing, to say the least. That being said, guys, that one is still worth your time, and you should be checking out because visually it is still a phenomenal series. At number 1 is the one, the only, you knew it was going to come. It's Soul Leveling. Soul Leveling had to be on this list because I do think that nonetheless it is probably the best finished manhwa out there as a whole. Even though I don't like the ending and I think it has problems, I still think it is good at what it did. Visually, it is stunning. I think that this series has the best Chapter 0 ever created. Chapter 0 includes basically the creation of Sung Jin-woo, his encounter with the statues, and his eventual end. Spoiler. That chapter 0 is what got me into the series, but it got so many people so excited about it, and I think it is perfection from a storytelling standpoint. What I find sad is that it kind of never lives up to that promise as it goes on, but though I still think that it is a phenomenal series that you should be either reading or having recommended to people that are starting out manhwa. Yes, it can be a bit of a hard start because visually there's not a lot that looks this good. The motion, the action, and just the quality of movement on the screen is in each chapter is different than everything else out there. But I have to say, there's still stories that are better narratively than Solo Leveling. That being said, if you want more of my comments on Solo Leveling, what I actually thought about it, check my review that I made on Solo Leveling a little while back on the channel. It's definitely worth checking out. You can see my whole thoughts on what frustrated the crap out of me in the series and the potential that it had to be such a good series. So that's my list, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I'd be curious to know what other finished series do you have to recommend. Please recommend them down below. I'd love to see that. Please like, subscribe to the channel. I would absolutely appreciate that. And with that, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.